Hey, everybody, we're just admitting everybody right now. We're about to get started. And Donovan, if you can let me know when the governor arrives so I can unmute him.
Believe he's on. Rohan, would you like to go ahead?
Oh, sure. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Governor's Honors Program virtual day at the Capitol. It is 4 o'clock, and we're going to get started out of respect for everyone's schedule and to ensure that there's ample time for a question and answer. My name is Rohan Krishnan, and I'm a senior at Pope High School, and I've been accepted into Georgia Tech and the University of Georgia for this fall semester. I'm a 2020 GHP Social Studies finalist, and I'm also proud to represent the class of 2020 on the GHP Steering Committee. On behalf of the Governor's Honors Program, I want to thank Governor Kemp, Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, and all the state legislators for giving us this opportunity to interact with our state leaders and for their support of GHP. I will now turn this over to Cade Joyner, who will be introducing Governor Kemp. Cade is a member of the Board of Regents for the University System of Georgia and is a 1996 GHP Science alumnus. He is also a member of the GHP Steering Committee. Thank you, Cade.
Thank you, Rohan. Participating in the Governor's Honors Program was truly one of the greatest opportunities and honors in my life. When I first applied, I didn't know much about the program. In fact, I avoided applying until the very last minute. It wasn't until one of my favorite teachers, Kay Pursley, sat me down and made me apply that I actually went through with it. She was incredibly wise and knew how much the program would mean to me in the long run. Coming from a small town, I hadn't had much exposure to big ideas or been around many kids I could identify with. Spending the summer of 1996 in Valdosta changed that. It gave me a place, it challenged me, and it made me a better person. It shaped my trajectory as a leader, and for that, I will be forever grateful. After GHP, I attended the University of Georgia, and shortly thereafter met Governor Brian Kemp. Over the years, we have had countless discussions about making Georgia a better place to work, live, and raise a family. The Governor's Honors Program does just that. As Vice Chairman of the Board of Regents, I've gotten to see firsthand how hard the governor works every day on behalf of educators and students alike. It is truly inspiring to see how dedicated he is to improving education at every level across this state, and I thank him for his continued support for programs like GHP. It is truly an honor to introduce a great friend and mentor of mine, our 83rd Governor, Governor Brian Kemp.
Hey, well, thanks so much, Cade. Really appreciate the kind introduction. It's quite the honor to be on with you guys this afternoon in such a crazy year. And I just want to, first of all, just congratulate all of you of being selected as a 2020 member of the Governor's Honors Program and a finalist. And I know it has been a rigorous and competitive process, but it's clear that your hard work has elevated you to a unique place of honor in our state, and you should certainly be very proud of that. And it's unfortunate that last year's program had to be canceled due to COVID, but you all are still every bit as impressive and deserving as the GHP alumni who've come before you, and in some ways probably more so having to deal with all that you have over the past 12 months. And I know that each of you will continue to carry on the reputation of the Governor's Honors Program and these great ideas for the state of Georgia. Being an alumni places you among a very distinguished group of individuals throughout the state. Leaders in state government, legislators, and even members of my staff have participated in the program, not to mention the great work that Cade's doing on the Board of Regents right now. And many of these individuals have gone on to do incredible things on behalf of the hardworking Georgians that we're serving here in the governor's office. You know, you guys hold the same amount of talent and potential as any of us do, and those that have followed you. And I have every confidence that you will grow to be great leaders in your community and this great state that we're living in, and amongst your peers as you head off to college or whatever it is that you're going to be doing in your career. I think, you know, the thing to me that's so great about this state is we have so much great opportunity here, and I want to urge you, if you are leaving to go out of state to go to school, just come back home when you get out. Don't stay away. We've got great opportunity in Georgia, and we need the workforce here. You know, I'm telling my 3 daughters the same thing. I've got 2 at the University of Georgia right now, and one who's a high school senior, so she's trying to figure out what she's going to do next year. And really, through them, I've been dealing with a little bit of what you all have been dealing with this year in such a challenging academic environment. And I know that many of you have had to transition to online or some sort of hybrid type learning, or even just dealing with the new normal in the classroom. And I know that as you grow older, as I do, there will be many memorable moments of this senior year of yours and the year that we have been dealing with COVID that has been like no other. And I know there's, you know, some resiliency and good in that, but it's also some missed opportunities as well that you've all experienced. And for that, I hate that the virus has caused that for you, but it's just been something that we've had to deal with. And I just want to thank you all, and really all our citizens in our state, for how they persevered. And you certainly shouldn't be taken for granted. And just like people all over the world, you've shown that resiliency to these unprecedented challenges. And I know that is, while it's created a interesting situation for us and things that we've had to deal with that we probably didn't want to, and things out of our normal routine, I also think it gives us great opportunity in the future, and really shows that your willingness to go above and beyond is exactly what sets you apart for higher honors like this one we're celebrating today. There's no question that we have challenges ahead, and a vaccine to continue to distribute and a virus to beat, but I believe that we're closer than we ever had to being in that position. I announced just about an hour ago that we're going to be expanding our eligibility criteria to 55 and older in our state, as well as 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds and older of medically fragile population who are very vulnerable, like our older Georgians, to the virus. But we feel like very quickly, hopefully the first part of April, that we'll be able to expand the criteria to critical infrastructure employers, employees, and also a vast majority of Georgians, which will hopefully very soon include you all. And we're looking forward to that day, because that is the light at the end of the tunnel that we're now seeing. And that will get us back to normal. It'll get us back to people being more comfortable to do in-person events and things like this. Hopefully we won't have to do as much anymore. I think Zoom's going to be with us for a while, but hopefully we'll have other opportunities to meet in person sometime. But in closing, I just want to thank you guys for being resilient. Thank you for continuing to push the limits of your academic skills and your community involvement. And just thanks for being a great member of the state of Georgia and a great citizen. And we're just glad to have you guys in the program. Congratulations. And I hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. I'm going to leave you now, and I think you're going to have our Lieutenant Governor, Jeff Duncan, who's going to say a few words to you, and I know you'll enjoy that, and wish you all the best. Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor, for that intro, and thank you for what you've done for our great state over the last 12 months. As you talked about these students having to navigate through a pandemic, it is certainly bold leadership and consistent leadership that has allowed us to get to the point that we're at today. So thank you, and to your entire staff. So I'm Jeff Duncan. I'm the Lieutenant Governor, and it's an honor for me to serve in this role. I get to go to work every day with folks like Governor Kemp and his entire team, Speaker Ralston, and some of the other legislators that you're going to hear from today. And, you know, it's really, truly an honor to be in this role. It's an honor to be with such a fine group of individuals that certainly all of you are leaders in your own right today, right? Whatever part of the state or whatever community that you're a part of today, you're seen as a leader. But the real true energy behind this program for me is to see the leaders that you're going to become going forward. You certainly are going to have opportunities to lead others in your communities, lead others in the state, lead others in this country. And some of you are going to be in leadership roles that quite honestly shape the future of the entire world. And so to think that we have an opportunity here to help promote this program here in Georgia and support it, and that support the great talents that each and every one of you have displayed back home is truly priceless. You know, I'm raising 3 boys now. I've got one of my boys is a freshman at the University of Georgia. My wife and I both went to Georgia Tech, so we had to come to grips with that. That's okay. And 2 other of my boys are in public schools in Forsyth County. But we truly are blessed to live in a state that understands the value of education and the value of challenging students as they come through and trying to help you find your lane, trying to find a way for you to deploy that talent that you've got, that God-given talent. And certainly this program is one of those avenues. One of those other areas is making sure that we have a place for you to land. As the governor mentioned, some of you are going to stay here for school and some of you are going to go off to other states for college. But our hope selfishly is that you bring the talent, that God-given talent that you've got, that very astute intellect, and you bring it back here to Georgia because there's a high-paying quality job waiting for you. There's a business opportunity for you to be a part of a startup or to be that startup yourself. And so we want to continue to encourage everybody here as part of this program to really continue to ideate and dream about what you can truly become. What are some of the real problems that you can solve with technology, with innovation, with strategy, with advanced manufacturing? We want you to feel very invited here in Georgia for us to play a part in your future as you not only launch your careers, but you launch your families. You know, I sit here and I think about the cumulative total of the future of the group here today. This honors program, if you could just somehow figure out a way to put all of the talent and quantify it on a piece of paper, it would be priceless to just understand the future opportunities. And you know, I selfishly want there to be so many options and so many career paths for you as you navigate through here. And that's truly the motivation as we look for ways to improve K through 12 education, as we look for ways to drive more rural broadband into communities, some of those communities that you're a part of, as we look for opportunities to deliver better, more thorough, more innovative healthcare, as we continue to look for ways, as I put out there, I want Georgia to be the technology capital of the East Coast. And to do that, we've got to invite investment, we've got to invite talent, we've got to cultivate and create and capture all of that. But to think about how many of you in this program are going to tangibly be a part of becoming the technology capital of the East Coast, both today, tomorrow, and literally decades from now, you're going to be a part of this, is truly something special for me. And so with that, congratulations on being a part of the program, but best wishes with your future career as you finish your educational process in K through 12, as you continue to launch into your next stage of education. But quite honestly, as you launch into the ecosystem here in Georgia, best wishes and cannot wait to see you soon. And with that, I'd like to go off into introducing a good friend of mine and a great partner of mine, Speaker David Ralston, who I got to serve under his leadership as a state representative for 5 years.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Duncan. We're looking to see if Speaker Ralston's on. He may have been pulled away for legislative duties. Trevor, do you see if he's on?
He's not on just yet, Donovan.
Okay. Thank you again to the Lieutenant Governor Duncan. We're going to move now to our state legislators. We have a few that are actually Governor's Honors Program alums. Tyler Harper, he's a state senator from Georgia's 7th District. That's Ocilla, Georgia, Irwin County. He's not able to join us. He also got pulled away for a appropriations meeting, but he was a GHP alum from 2003 in agri-science and biotechnology, and he just wanted me to pass on his regrets. We've got State Senator Jen Jordan. Is she on the line?
I am looking. I don't see her just yet.
Okay, she's, I know she had some mediations today with court. She represents the 6th district, that's Buckhead, Sandy Springs, Smyrna. She's a GHP alum from 1992 Community of Arts. So I guess she was not able to join in time. Are we, actually, you know what, we're a little ahead of schedule for her. I'm gonna pause or Trevor, can you mute me just for a second? I just gotta, well, someone called me.
Sure. And we do have Representative Houston Gaines here. Representative Gaines, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Awesome.
Donovan, while you're making that call, do you want to call in Representative Gaines?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was one of the senators. Your Representative Gaines is a alum from Athens, and we thank you for joining us, Representative.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to see everybody. I just got on, so I know you've already heard from the governor and lieutenant governor. And, you know, as Donovan said, I am an alumni. I was a social studies major, and then I was trying to remember the minor. I think it was called journalism. It's only a minor. It's not a major, if I remember right. But David Ragsdale, who's in Athens, was the teacher of that program. But it was just an awesome experience, and for me, that I was lucky to go on and actually my freshman year roommate at the University of Georgia was a good friend of mine from GHP, and so it's an awesome experience that we had for they call it the Magic Square, and it was just a great time that we had, and certainly the friendships that you make there will continue to impact you. I actually had someone just Facebook message me the other day who was we were in social studies at GHP at the same time together, and she was talking about some of the jobs that she's looking at, and so you stay in touch with the folks you get to meet, and it's where you have great conversations, and it's just a really diverse group of people with different opinions, different backgrounds, something that I think you'll really come to enjoy. And certainly I've enjoyed over the last couple months reconnecting by being a part of the group that Donovan's spearheaded, and something that, since I've been in the General Assembly, I got elected first in 2018 with the budget. That's something that we've, kind of kept an eye on with the GHP budget. And I've had folks reach out from across the state when there were issues there. And so that's something, that it's a program that has meant a lot to me, and it means a lot to students across the state. And certainly you all are the best and brightest that we have. And I think it's just such an awesome program that gives you the chance to connect with others. And so I would just encourage you to keep those relationships, develop them over time, keep in touch with friends. And because I do think it's, again, just such an awesome experience. I know that this year is so strange. And right now with a virtual day at the Capitol, obviously, hopefully next year we maybe get to have the GHP folks in person. But just again encourage you to build those relationships, and know that there's a lot of people at the state level who believe in this program, have seen the value of it firsthand, and certainly something we want to continue to invest in and support. Again, for us here at the state capitol, it's an important program. I can tell you a little bit about my background, and then I don't know if we're doing questions or what the schedule is, but it was went from Athens, and then went to the University of Georgia, and then got like I said, got elected a couple years ago. I work in Athens for a company called Cannon Financial, and basically we do consulting and training for banks. And like I say, I've had the honor of representing Clark, Oconee, Jackson, and Barrow counties in the General Assembly for the last 2 years, and excited to do it for another 2 years. So I don't know if we have any students from the Athens area on the call, but honored to represent what I think is the best district in the state, and honored to be with y'all today. So Donovan, I don't know if there's anything y'all wanted us to cover, but happy to answer any questions, and thank y'all for having us.
Thank you, Representative Gaines. We are going to have a Q&A session here in a few minutes, but First, I'd like to introduce Speaker David Ralston. He was able to join us. He's very busy today, I'm sure with legislative duties, but I did see he was able to join. So Speaker Ralston, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Donovan. And I was enjoying Representative Gaines's presentation there. I learned things about him I didn't know. But thank you for inviting me to participate in this program. I'm always impressed to be around either in person or virtually with our participants in the Governor's Honors Program, because as Representative Gaines said, this truly is the best and the brightest. And I got a little confession to make. You know, when I was in high school, I took an exam to be in the Governor's Honors Program and they didn't accept me. So this is the first time that I've got to be a part of a Governor's Honors Program. So I took a long road to get there, but I do want to congratulate y'all, and I echo what Representative Gaines said, that hopefully next year we'll be able to do this here at the Capitol and greet you here in person. You know, you students are kind of coming through a really unprecedented time over the past year. In fact, this weekend will be 1 year since we suspended the 2020 session of the General Assembly last year, when the pandemic was beginning to really hit Georgia hard. We suspended the session. We were out until mid-June. We came back then and completed our work over a couple of weeks at the end of June. And so, you know, we have so much now that's that because of our need to social distance, we're doing so many virtual programs, which are great that we can do them this way, but I kind of miss the contact in person and the ability to you know, just kind of be around people. But I've been honored to support this program as through the General Assembly, through our budget process, because I think it's a program that we as a state get a tremendous return on by recognizing and further developing truly the best students in Georgia in all subject matters. So I think it's just an opportunity for us to make our state better. I think it demonstrates the commitment that we have on a bipartisan basis to education here in the state, both K through 12 as well as post-secondary. And I know that all the members of your legislative panel and I all would agree on that. So I'm just pleased to be on the program today. Representative Gaines gave you a little bit of brief on himself. Even though I serve in this position, I'm a state representative. I'm elected from the 7th House District, which includes Fannin, Gilmer, and a portion of Dawson County up in North Georgia. And then in the House of Representatives, we elect our speaker every 2 years. I'm in my 11th year as speaker here in Georgia. And it's a job that I truly love. I get to work with great people like the ones here today, Representative Gaines, and I understand my friend Bob Trammell's on the program, and just really quality people that are here for the right reasons and trying to do the right things. So I just want to encourage you. You know, you've had an amazing opportunity that you've earned. Make the most of it. work hard, take advantage of it, prepare through it, because this truly will unlock a future of unlimited possibilities for you. And so just know that we are very, very supportive, and know that we're here if we could ever be of any assistance to you or to the program, Donovan. So, and I'll be happy to field a question or two before you go back to the panel if you'd like for me to.
Um,
And if you don't have time, that's okay too.
I'm trying to think. We do have Senator Jordan right after you, and I think she's got a quick schedule. If you had a minute, I could give you a question right after that. Is that fine?
I don't want to take away her time now.
Okay, sure. Senator Jordan is joining us. She represents the 6th district. That's Buckhead, Sandy Springs, Smyrna, and she's also a GHP alum.
I am. So I'm originally from Dodge County. So where I come from is not where I represent now. And I have to tell you that GHP was probably one of the most significant life-changing experiences that I had. You know, went to Dodge County High School and really hadn't been exposed to much. And then to go to a program like GHP where I had incredible teachers who really kind of, you know, they pushed you, and also to meet students from all around the state that were truly gifted and really bright. And so I'm a huge booster of the program. Still great best friends with people that I met at GHP, you know, 20 plus years ago. And y'all are so lucky. And I tell you, you may not know it now, but at some point you will. It really is a life-changing experiences, and it's one of the best things that we do in the state. So I really appreciate the opportunity just to kind of pop in and say hello, because it really is a priority. And I can't wait till we can get the program back up and running the way it really should be, which is all of y'all together kind of in a residential setting. So thank you, Donovan. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us. And Speaker Wilson, thank you for agreeing to take a question. We do have one I think we can field to you that is from Sean Manning from Valdosta. Is Sean on the line? This is about agriculture in rural Georgia.
Yes, hi. Growing up in rural southern Georgia, I've seen the mounting threats to local farms in our state. What's your plan in the short term and the long term to protect these farms?
Sean, I hope you'll be pleased to know that back in 2017, the House of Representatives, we were having discussions about the great job growth that was occurring in Georgia, looking at numbers that were absolutely amazing, until we realized that those jobs were mostly going to metro areas and not to rural Georgia. So that kind of evolved into a discussion that led to the creation during that legislative session of the House Rural Development Council. We established that after that session. It was chaired initially by the Appropriations Chair, Terry England from Winder, and the late Jay Powell from Camilla. I gave them a charge of going all over the state for a year to interact with local leaders, whether they were in agriculture, business, local government, healthcare professionals, civic leaders, all kinds of people, to find out what we as a state could do to help them, bring jobs to those areas. And they have brought back some amazing recommendations. We've actually implemented a good number of those into law. Most recently, knocking down some barriers to expanding high-speed broadband into rural Georgia, which I believe, frankly, is very foundational to all the things I mentioned earlier, business, education, medicine, so I think that, and we just renewed that last week for an additional 2 years. I think that's one of the best initiatives that has ever been undertaken here in the state to really make rural Georgia a full partner with the rest of the state. I happen to believe that you ought to have an opportunity to get a great job regardless of your zip code. And so that's what we're trying to do. And that is a high priority of mine. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Speaker Austin, so much. Before we get to the other questions, I did want to introduce former Minority Leader Bob Trammell, who is also a GHP alum, I believe, from 1991. Leader Trammell, are you on the line?
I am.
Bob?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to be with friends. It's great to be with you, Mr. Speaker. And I, in 1991, I was a social studies major. Governor's Honors was one of the most important experiences of my life. We spent a terrific summer in Valdosta on the Magic Square. And I also have the ability to say that I spent not one summer at Governor's Honors Program, but I spent 2 summers when I was a college student at the University of Georgia. In the summer of 1994, I went back to GHP as a resident assistant. And it was just a terrific honor and privilege to be able to participate in that capacity and be around, great young people, many of whom are still friends that I bump into throughout the state. I know we want to get to the questions, so I won't be long-winded. I will say that my first legislative experience, Mr. Speaker, was actually not when I got elected to the Georgia General Assembly. My first legislative experience was in 1991 as part of the Model Congress in the social studies major. And as irony or luck would have it, the way I don't know whether they did this intentionally or, but they wanted you to really stretch and work. They didn't want you to have a role in Model Congress that would be easy for you. So they assign you a part, which you had to research. You had to research the area you represented and the views of the ideological views of the constituents of that area, and also the ideological views of the congressman who represent, or congresswoman who represented that particular district. Now, my district that I was assigned was one of the most conservative districts in the entire United States. It was a very conservative district in Idaho, and I represented it in Model Congress to the best of my ability, and I earned the nickname Dr. No. It was just a great formative experience. I learned a ton there. I'm an unabashed advocate. I know we have a lot of representatives who are not only on the panel, but who are on the call. And I just tell you that Governor's Honors Program is certainly one of the things the state of Georgia is really doing right. And it's just an honor for me to be here in this capacity. So I look forward to fielding some questions.
Thank you, Leader Trammell. So we're going to go now to questions, and we have several students that have pre-submitted some questions. For our legislators, if you want to indicate if you'd like to answer, we probably have time for maybe 1 or 2, and then if the rest, if you'd like to answer in the chat box, that way we can get to as many answers as possible. But our next question comes from Moira Ujda. She's from Marist High School, a social studies major. Her senator is Sally Harrell, and her representative is Viola Davis. Is Moira on the line? And this is about legislation.
Yes, I am here. I had submitted a couple of questions. I'm not sure if you had one. I'll go ahead and ask, how can Georgians monitor the legislative process right now since we can't really come to the Capitol? And how can we still interact with our legislators this session since during COVID, access to them looks a little different?
Who's going to answer?
If anybody would like, if you're welcome to, Speaker, if you'd like, or trying to see if anybody.
I understood your question to be, how are we interacting with people here at the Capitol during this session with the COVID pandemic? Is that accurate? Okay. So I talked a little bit earlier about when we suspended the session, March 13th, I think it was, last year. And then we were out of session until mid-June. I think we came back June 15th. So one of the things that we did over that period of time was to develop some protocols, and we had to change the way we did business. We have to use the gallery in the House for member seating so we can social distance. So we did social distancing, both on the floor of the House, putting people in the gallery, putting them in the appropriations room in 341. So we did that. We limited guests on the floor. We are not permitting guests on the floor during the pandemic. So the only people that get on the floor are members, staff, media, we did put hand sanitizers on the desk, and we did all of those kind of things. We took everybody's temperature when they got here in the morning or when they came into the building. And this year, getting ready for the session in January, we added another component to that, mandatory testing. So every member of the General Assembly is tested twice a week. It's mandatory. And if you don't test, you are not seated. And I think with that, when I forgot to mention, the House last summer adopted a mandatory mask policy. The Senate, I think, made them optional, but we did a mandatory program. Obviously, we've carried that forward, and I think now they're even doing a mandatory mask program over there. I think we've managed pretty well. The numbers of positive test results and confirmed cases has gradually declined over this session from what it was when we started the session. But we had to change the way we did business. Now, let me add one other thing. When I say we don't let people in the gallery, that doesn't mean you don't have access to what we're doing, because the House of Representatives streams not only the session, but committees and even some subcommittees live on the internet. So, you do have access to be a part of that. So Donovan, I'm going to have to take leave, but I've enjoyed it. Thank you very, very much. And thank all of the group.
Thank you.
Thank my colleagues too.
Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so next we have a question from, let's see here, from David Johns. He's from Paulding County High School. He is a social studies major. His senator is Jason Anavitarte, and his representative is Joseph Gullett. David, if you would like to answer ask your question, and I'm going to call on Representative Maynor to answer that because she does have to go to a meeting.
Okay, yes, sir. So my question for the legislators is, how have state decisions, legislators, and the passing of laws been affected by the coronavirus pandemic, and how will they continue to be affected?
Hi, thank you for the question. I'm gonna have to ask you to just repeat that for me one more time, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. So I was just wondering how state decisions, legislators, and the process of making laws and how they've been affected by the coronavirus pandemic over the last year, and how do you believe they will be affected over the upcoming years?
Okay, I think that's actually a great question, especially with me being a new legislator. This is my first term here, and one of the things that we do not have are pages and interns because you have to either be a Georgia state employee or a lobbyist or another elected official of some sort to come into the Capitol and do business. So that means from a legislative perspective, we're spread out all over the Capitol. Some people are on the House floor. Myself, I'm up in the gallery, still within the chamber, and some people are in room 341. And if you need to get something done on the chamber floor, I don't know if you've been to the Capitol, but the steps are hard and you will sweat and pant as you go up and down the steps with a mask on. So that's one thing that has changed significantly. Another thing that has changed is a lot of the ideas and research that we get may come from groups, from lobbyists or specific interest groups. And a lot of people, because of COVID, are not here at the Capitol. So we've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings just like this to get that information versus just right hands-on getting it. And to my right, actually, is Fulton County Commissioner Rob Pitts, and I'm going to be meeting with him. But luckily, since he's an elected official, he was up here earlier today for other business, so I'm able to meet with him in person. I hope that answers your question, does it?
Yes, ma'am.
And just before I go, congratulations to everyone. My daughter actually was a semifinalist this year, so I know the process firsthand. She was going to do it in foreign languages. She's a 10th grader at Grady High School, so I'm so proud of you guys. Keep up the good work. You were selected amongst many, and many were not able to make it to this point. So kudos to you, and have a great rest of the school year, and stay safe.
Thank you, Representative. So our next question comes from Mary Harrison. She's a senior at Cairo High School. She's a social studies major as well. Her senator is Dean Burke, and her representative is Darlene Taylor. Mary, if you're on, would you like to ask your question about staying involved in politics?
Yeah, I sure would. My question was, how can we stay involved in the politics of our home district and state when we're most likely going to be away from home, potentially even out of state next year when we're away at college?
Thanks, Mary. Leader Trammell, I think I saw your hand up a minute ago. Would you like to take this one?
Sure, I'll be glad to. First is that there's never been a time where there's more information about what's going on at the state and local level that is accessible to everyone. So, I think that there was an earlier question about how to follow the legislature, and that this sort of applies to that question as well. But first, if you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter, because in the world of politics, politics is one of those. Twitter's not great for everything, but politics is one of those things that you can actually find out a ton of information about what's happening by getting on Twitter. And if you're interested in following specifically what's happening at the state legislative level or here in Georgia, there's a hashtag GAPOL, GAPOL. And what I do, and I'll tell you just a brief little when I was first elected to the legislature, it seemed like everybody in the building knew what was going on before I did. And I would go in and, people would know what was happening for the day. And so I figured out very early that reporters knew everything that was happening that day before anybody else, certainly before I did. And so I used to sit at my desk for the first couple of days, and I would hit refresh on the blogs to look at their Twitter. And finally, I just said, this is sort of insane. I should get a Twitter account, and I should start following reporters and start following people so I could see it. So that's number one. The second thing about being involved is that, particularly at the local and the state level, state legislators don't have, they really don't have professional staff. So most legislators are very open to help from young people who know how to do a lot of things that frankly, legislators might not have the facility to do, particularly in terms of organizing information and technology. And so I would just reach out and do that by email or sending a handwritten letter saying that you're interested, you'd love to help. And you can certainly do that from afar because, as the speaker said, proceedings you can monitor online, and I would certainly do that. And then finally, I would also get active in a local political group, either at your school or at home, and that's a way that you can stay plugged into what's going on. So thank you very much for that question and your interest. And I would encourage everybody to be involved because we really need your voice and your input.
Thank you.
Mr. Trammell, that seemed like an important question. If there's another answer out there, if there's a legislator that'd like to answer that one. Representative Robenshaw.
Yeah, so as Bob Trammell said, I've had interns, people working with me since I came in. I'm only in my second term. So, and they've been from people who started here in Georgia, but then when they went away to school from New York, one was in Notre Dame. So, and they can still continue to do some research for me online, get them involved, help them write almost policy papers or what are they interested in. So when we look to bring on an intern, we just say, what is it you want to learn about all of this? And then we, try to fit in. Again, as one of the older legislators, I'm not that good with Twitter and all of that. So some of them take over and help us do our social media accounts with our approvals, just talking to them. But I always think too, it's the future. You guys are the future of this state. So it's your state. I actually have twin sons who were both GHP recipients. And actually I grew up in Louisiana. So I was a Louisiana governor's honors program, as was my husband. But my sons were two of the ones, they went away to college, but they both have returned. So you guys, we need you back here and it's your state. And I'm proud to say one of my sons was part of the medical research team at Emory that did the Moderna vaccine, and his twin brother is an attorney over in Savannah. So there's lots of things you guys need, but the way we do these laws is going to affect you. So I always want, and we need your input into that. And if you see something, any of us, you want to know more about, send us all emails. We try to respond. I've done interviews with some of the students too across the state. Yes, it's Zoom right now. So we do try to answer your questions as best we can. It may take us a day or two to get back to you, but we are there for you.
Thank you, Representative. I saw that Representative Houston Gaines he's still with us. He said he had to go to a meeting in a few minutes. Representative, did you want to take a stab at this answer as well?
Well, I think that what Leader Trammell said and Representative Robichaux said, spot on in terms of just keeping in contact. And I think we all try our best to be as responsive as possible, and responding to constituents is, in my opinion, one of the most important things we do. And I know a lot of legislators have a newsletter, so I would encourage you to get on their newsletter so you can kind of keep up with what's going on. Just reach out, send them an email, and get to know them. And even if you're going off to school in another another place, keep in touch with those legislators. And I know that when I was at UGA, that honestly, that's where I got my first interaction with the state capitol, and was when I was in college. And I spent some time over here getting to know some of the legislators, and I was involved with our student government at UGA. And that's kind of in that role is where I got to get to know the General Assembly, to be honest. And I got to know the legislative process, worked on a piece of legislation while I was in school. And that's really what got me hooked on the state level side. And I think everybody has to, find an interest, whether it's local, state, or federal. And I think we're really lucky in the state level. You've got responsive folks in the General Assembly, and you've got people that are willing to work with anybody. And so I would just encourage you to keep in touch and get to know your legislators. And again, get to know your fellow GHP folks, because this is a group of people that I guarantee you half of y'all are going to be in the General Assembly, in 15 years. So stay involved, get engaged, and I think you'll find a receptive audience here at the Capitol. So again, congratulations to all of you for what you're doing so far, and looking forward to watching y'all's progress in the years to come.
Donovan, can I say one more thing about this question?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I say one more thing? So, we talked about ways to follow us, but there's one other thing that I want to make sure that that I say and that I put out there. I mentioned the Twitter, and it's not just following us. I mean, you should put yourself out there if you're interested in the political process and your views, and use hashtags, because I can tell you that that I read that and watch that. And I really gravitate during my time in the General Assembly. There were actually a handful of young people who regularly posted on the political with political tweets that I started to follow. And I even reached out to a couple of them because they had great ideas. And so put yourself out there. Because people are scanning and watching that, and talent rises to the top, and a good idea is a good idea. So don't be afraid to do that.
Thank you, Leader Trammell. I think we've got time probably for one or two more questions. The next one is for George Lefkowitz. He submitted this question. He's from Grady High School. He's a senior there in Atlanta, social studies major. His senator is Nan Orrock. His representative is David Dreyer. George, would you like to ask your question about voter registration?
Yeah, if I know that people were bouncing around on who answered what question, but if I could get an answer from each representative still on the call, if y'all would make clear your position on automatic voter registration, and if you are against automatic voter registration, may I ask why you think it should be more difficult for people to register to vote? Thank you.
See if anybody wants to provide an answer for. Representative Anulowitz has asked to answer that one.
What's the representative's name, Donovan?
Here I go. Now I'm on mute.
Yep,
Anulowitz.
there you go.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Terry Anulowitz, House District 42, which is Smyrna and Marietta. Campbell High School is in my district, and I have kids who go to lots of the independent schools around the area. But I think that we should continue with automatic voter registration. I think that to not do so really makes no sense. When I was in high school in the 90s, we called it motor voter. And it's something that was so incredibly important because voting should be easy, right? Participating in our democracy should be easy. And I don't think there's any reason at all to discontinue the automatic voting registration.
Thank you, Representative. I don't see any more hands right now. Let's we can go to the Representative Rebenshaw. Would you like to answer that?
I agree with Representative Anulowitz. Not only obviously for the young people coming online. My father was 90 years old when he moved here to the state of Georgia to live with me. And when he switched over his driver's license, he was automatically registered to vote in the state of Georgia, which again and he did vote. He has recently passed, but he was able to vote. So, we make it easy for all eligible voters. And I think that is one of the ways we need to keep doing it.
Donovan, you're muted.
Sorry, I thought I clicked it. So we're running close on time, so I did want to go to one last question here. This one is from Susanna Berg. She's a senior at Tucker High School. She's a major, her major is agriculture, research, technology, and science. Her senator is Kim Jackson, and her representative is Zuma Lopez. Susanna, would you like to ask your question on agriculture and climate change?
Sure. So I'm attending the University of Georgia in the fall, and I'll study agriculture like Governor Kemp. So what are your thoughts on transforming rural Georgia into a more sustainable environment for both crops and livestock in order to combat climate change, which I believe is the most raising issue of this day?
Do you have anyone interested in answering that one, or?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so I grew up in rural Louisiana. So I also am from rural parts, even though I live up in Roswell, Georgia now. I think we need to look at renewable energy sources. Is going to play a large part to help us control first climate change. We need to understand that it is here. What do we do in, breeding from? How do we change the way in which our crops and our livestock can survive, and humans? Obviously, we have to live in this together. I think we are making some progress, but I think those of you who are going into this field of study, you're going to identify a lot more, and there's going to be some amazing discoveries being made, ways in which we can do that. But again, I think we really need to be pushing also the more renewable energy sources, and how can we do that? And then again, in the agriculture field, what other opportunities are there for the crops, or for, crops to also maybe become parts of our renewable energy models as we go forward?
And it's Leader Trammell or Representative Anola Woods, I think.
Yeah, no, I would just say that, climate change is the existential crisis of our lifetime. And we certainly have to, as policy, for the immediate term, the near term, and the future, we have to shift to a more sustainable source of the way that we power our lives. So it's not just a responsibility of what we do in the agricultural or rural parts of the state, but we have to look at all industries to do that. I think agriculture is going to continue to be a large driver in lots of parts of Georgia. But we also have to think about the impact that climate change is going to have on agriculture itself. The storms that we had several years ago, in the hurricane that devastated Southwest Georgia and had an outsized impact on agriculture. In some part that was due to climate change, and we're going to see that in other parts of the country as time goes by, and we've got to do everything we can to do our part.
I'll add on to that. I talk a lot about transportation with the policy work that I do in the House. And one of the things we have to think about, and this especially involves agriculture, but everything that happens in rural Georgia impacts Metro Atlanta. Everything that happens in Metro Atlanta is going to impact rural Georgia. And when you talk about climate change, what that means for not only what our climate actually is, right? What crops do well now? What crops should we consider in the future if we know that the temperatures are going to continue to change? And what can we do to preserve the crops that we have right now, the way we grow them, that we can still have a climate, we can still have an environment that is amenable to those crops. Talking about how we move these crops around, how we have our freight and logistics, that all has to do with climate change. how we plan for the Port of Savannah with rising seawater levels. I mean, we already know that we have roads, in the Golden Isles and around the Georgia coast that frequently flood. So how is that going to change how we move our goods around? Agriculture, those are our biggest exports. And so we really have to be thinking strategically and holistically about not just how we grow them and when we grow them and how we market them, but how we move them around and how we make sure we are doing this in a way that is sustainable and that we have policies that make these sustainable.
Thank you, Representative. And we are at time here, so thank you all thank you to all of our legislators and guests for joining us. Thank you for the students that joined us today. I do want to turn this over to our GHP Program Director, Ricky Palmer.
Hi guys, I don't have just a couple of minutes here because we want to try to stay on time. But the one thing I really want to try to communicate to you is that when the pandemic really got real for us in mid-March, we were actually all the staff were in preparation for all of our training, both the new faculty and the returning faculty, and everything just flipped upside down. We have well over 100 staff every year that looks forward to having you guys on campus. And I know it was a huge blow to you, but just know it was a huge blow and a great disappointment to us as well. And we really wish you all the best and all your endeavors. And hopefully you'll get to come back and visit us as time goes on. So we wish you all the best. Thanks.
Thanks, Ricky. And that brings us to the end of our program. We really appreciate you all for joining us and hope you have a great rest of the day.